Welcome back to the Classic Entertainment Connoisseur. Thanks for joining, ladies and gentlemen. Today I have for you a cinematic gem. This one is just punchline after punchline after punchline. Okay? I'm going to try and not put too many spoilers in it just yet. I'm going to try and keep those toward the end of the video. So for anyone who wants to see the film first, Dangerously Yours stars Cesar Romero and Phyllis, who actually pair together so perfectly. Perfect pair for the story. Alright, the basic premise of the plot. Wealthy diamond owner is returning back to the States with his priceless new jewel, taking all the precautions he can against its being stolen. And there are many thieves aboard, Cesar Romero leading as the most suspicious of them all. Not surprising, the actor had played many notable villains. Even less surprising for this plot, there's a beautiful girl aboard the ship whom he has fallen for. She is traveling with her aunt, is under the impression that Cesar Romero's character is following her. Now, there are many twists and turns here. Here come the spoilers. They're coming up. Before we dig into all the details, I want to mention some of the terrific casts that we have assembled. Jane Darwell, a regular face in the Shirley Temple films. That's what I mostly remember her for. She's often, played the housekeeper or grandmother character. She won an Academy Award for Best Supporting Actress in The Grapes of Wrath. I also read that Walt Disney had especially requested for her to play the Bird Woman in Mary Poppins. Now, she had retired from film by this point and was living in the motion picture Country Home. She initially turned down the role, but Walt Disney personally drove up to see her and pleaded for her to take the part, to which she finally accepted. This would be her last film role, though. I personally don't think it's her best work. I loved her in the Shirley Temple movies, and The Bird Lady just doesn't compare with that to me. But she's most remembered today as the Bird Lady, I think, only due to the huge success of Mary Poppins and its longevity as a family film over the decades to come. First spoiler for today's video actually is going to be, and it's not even a spoiler, it's really more of a disclosure. Jane Darwell does not play a sweet little lady in this film. Another notable cast member is Alan Dinehart. I don't know how many of you guys remember this actor by name, but he's one of those that guy in that movie actors. You see him in one film and you recognize him later in another. Dinehart, I don't know if he's known more for something else, but from what I always see, he falls into a lot of roles like that really annoying character, or the crooked cop, the dirty politician. He seemed to play a lot of bad guys. But here's an interesting piece of trivia. Before turning to theater, this guy initially studied to be a priest. That seems like a vastly different kind of job to me, especially considering the roles he ended up with. That sort of backstory is more something you'd expect from, like, Pat O'Brien or somebody, right? Leon Ames has considerably a small role in this one, but it's still great to see him. One of the thieves after the diamond, of course. Who else could he play in this kind of picture? I mean, I suppose he played a lot of, fatherly figures in a good portion of his career. But this guy was also the cold, cool gangster with the cigarette and those sharp one-liners. Many of these roles, as in the film here, he didn't even have a lot of screen time, but he sure seemed to work with what he had. In the later half of his career, this guy did a lot of television work from the 50s all the way through the 70s. He appeared on Andy Griffith, Beverly Hillbillies, My Three Sons, all those shows. Did you know that he also served as president of the Screen Actors Guild in 1957? He was actually one of the founders of the guild back in the 30s. Finally, in 1980, after 50 years in show business, Leon Ames received the Screen Actors Guild Life Achievement Award. Now, stuff like that makes me happy to read, because I feel like a lot of the people from then, a lot of really talented people, went unremembered. And that's why I do these videos. I've grown up watching a lot of old movies, and they're, in all truth, a wonderful part of my life. Not only for the sake of entertainment, but I've learned so much history, a lot of culture of that era. And when my brother and I work on our own films, a lot of our skills in that area have come from studying the movies that we love. So thank you for joining in today. I really appreciate sharing this stuff with you guys. And if you aren't subscribed already, push that button. It's down there somewhere. Like it, comment it, share it with a friend, mark it with a B, and put it in the oven for baby and me. I'm just kidding. Not kidding, really. But, alright, let's get into it. From here on, it's nothing but spoilers. So if you want to watch the movie first and mark this for watch later, now is the time. When you're finished seeing the movie for yourself, you'll enjoy coming back here for the rest of my commentary. But if you have already seen it, or you're just one of those crazy people who love spoilers, you may continue now. Phyllis Brooks plays a lovely early example of the femme fatale that would later dominate the 40s and the 50s. In the beginning, she appears so sweet and innocent, but later it's revealed that she is a master thief. And her sweet little old aunt here pulls off the same shocking reveal. Now, I've seen Phyllis Brooks in some of those, sweet girl parts, but honestly, I was always under the impression that she kind of struggled with that character type. Maybe it's just that I was already expecting her to be in some kind of trouble whenever she walked on screen in this film. Her better roles are when she has room to be fun and witty. She was expert at that sharp dialogue, and she handles the jilted one or the antagonistic characters as well. Phenomenal in comedy and drama alike. She was really great in this role. So the sudden drop from innocence to a plotting thief isn't really so unbelievable after a minute. You go back a bit and you think how she picked up on Cesar Romero's character being a thief so quickly. If she was really innocent and really in love with this guy, she would hardly put two and two together like that. Not that fast. Then there's how she and her aunt so casually make the acquaintance of the owner of this diamond. This moment was so planned. They've done this before. Now, Cesar Romero's character, I gotta be honest, was pretty hard to figure out for some time. I mean, clearly he's in love with the girl, but if he's a thief and been following her around, how come the remarkable coincidence of her being in all those places where the valuable jewels just happen to be? Now, we know he's lying about something because he says he's a cattle rancher in Argentina, but he clearly knows nothing about either cattle or Argentina. Now, this movie has comedy at its core, but it's not played for the jokes. It's not played up for the comedy. It's only played for the punchlines themselves. Here we have the murderer. Casual, so cold-blooded and nonchalant. It just comes down to, if he really killed that man in cold blood, then the whole romance comedy angle is out. I mean, it would be a completely pointless film. He's got to be some kind of detective, right? We can only hope for the first 2/3 of the picture that he is really the good guy undercover. But then finally, at last, whenever it's revealed that he's a detective, you're like, well, I knew that all along, but the story keeps everyone waiting just long enough to have them on the edge of their seats for it. But really, it succeeds by not disappointing them in the end. See, an audience loves a trick, they love a good twist, but they have to get what they expect to happen. There has to be that balance of the twist and the expected ending. I feel like that's the difference between putting on a good show and using cheap tricks to get by. Now, I was just waiting for Alan Einhart's identity to be revealed here. He was too loud not to be somebody important, too annoying to be just the comic relief. It was just so necessary to tie him in as the boss in the end of this film, because if not, he would have been an obsolete character, and nothing should ever be obsolete in a film. So yeah, looking back on the film a second time, you see a lot of it was pretty obvious, but it didn't matter at the time because it was really enjoyable. Now, this brings me to a tiny personal little satisfaction here in the end. It's one of those things I see all the time in a lot of B movies, really cheap, overused movie trick that I understand the concept perfectly, but I also get slightly annoyed when it's handled so poorly, and most of the time it is. Like a good 90-something%. And it's that little tiny hospital scene in the end of the picture. You know, when the character gets shot at the height of the climax and everyone cries a minute. Then you have this tiny little scene in the hospital that fixes everything. You know, everyone's assured that the person will have a rapid recovery. And, you know, it's just that last bit of drama. They never seem to have enough time in the end of the film to wrap it up properly. And Dangerously Yours was not disappointing me here. It made me happy to see that it didn't fall into that. The height of the climax hits, the bullets start flying, the hero shoves the girl out of the way, maybe a little violently. He practically throws her. But while trying to escape, we see he's got to carry her, so we know she's been shot. We're not under the impression that she's dead or that she's dying, and we don't really get to see any drama here. There's just too much action involved in catching the bad guys that there is no time for the drama. So it's just this. So there was suspense, but no melodrama that would take the bounce out of the punchlines. Again, we have the newspaper headlines summarizing the following events, this time tying the happy ending up into a nice little knot, and then with one final scene out on the ocean in the moonlight. Again, this was such a well-executed film. I really appreciated it. Love seeing Cesar Romero and Phyllis Brooks in this one, and of course everybody else that was mentioned. If you enjoyed this, come check out the channel. I do lots of these reviews, and we do comedy sketches, we do mysteries. You're not going to want to miss out.